Okay, let's get started there, everybody. It's time for another 2 p.m. Peace Twitch stream. I'm your host, Strangeberg Jim, and we are going to be getting back into some Pega today. Um, we're going to be looking at the data model after the challenge that we did yesterday for enforcing service level agreements. So, um, 4 topics, 50 minutes, so that's going to be quite a bit here. We'll see if we can get it all done within an hour, but probably not. We may need to cover like maybe a couple topics, and then we'll finish off the rest tomorrow. Um, but, we'll continue moving through our, you know, um, we're covering the everything that we need to know about System Architect so that, um, well, I'm going to be trying for the System Architect certification. This series is for anybody else that wants to get into, studying for certification as well. Um, if you want to do more of the business architect, that's also available. A good majority of the missions are kind of covered, you know, for the business architect. So, um, in some ways, I might, I'm on one hand, I'm actually kind of thinking, maybe at some point I'll try both of them because I don't know if, I do have a voucher that I could probably try to use. I don't know if it's still active or not. I don't know if they've expired it or not, but I have a voucher that I can use for the system architect, and I mean, I could probably put some money in towards getting the business architect certification if I pass both, or if I pass, obviously my main focus is trying to get that system architect. So, when I apply for Pega jobs, they're not going to look at me and go, well, you don't have your certification. It's like, yeah, I know a little bit about Pega. I've used it. I've done case types before. You know, I'm not completely stupid about Pega, but obviously I'm not extremely knowledgeable about it either. Okay, I'm not a. This series is not sponsored by Pega at all. Just putting that out there. Um, and I'm not a certified trainer. So if you're watching this, and you are feeling like, um, that's, you're trying to, find someone that is like a certified trainer and like, well, sorry, that's this isn't it. But I will state, um, I post all these videos up on my YouTube channel afterwards, and I welcome anybody that, you know, maybe if you are, work for Pega, or maybe you are a certified trainer, please go over those, all the videos that I've done so far. Um, feel free to answer my questions, there on YouTube, or right now on, while I'm streaming this. Um, both are perfectly fine. Um, but obviously, um, if you leave a comment on the video itself, then that is, that gets left for everybody else that might be looking at that video for, continued study. So, uh, so bear that in mind. Not only would you be helping me out in my process of learning more about Pega, but you might be helping someone else out as well. So, um, now obviously, I will state you know, um, if you want, well, okay, the there are um, there are instructor-led trainings. Okay, so if you have the money for instructor-led training, do so. Okay, while the trainer that I had did not live up to, well, I would say a decent standard. I've had better instructors. Um, that's, I'm not going to say that that covers everybody, okay? Because, we had some people, talk with us, during our questions, and they were able to actually answer some of the questions that I had, for example, that my instructor did not. Um, so just know that, um, while I might have had a bad instructor through my corporate training, that's that doesn't mean that, every single instructor is bad, okay? It's just I had a bad one in my particular opinion anyway. Um, and some people agreed, along those lines. So, uh, but yeah, it's just unfortunate. But uh, so um, see, see this more as study materials than instructor-led training. Okay. I don't want them feeling like I'm taking away from, what they are doing at Pega. Okay. So, um, I'm gonna do, I've already been instructed, and I'm going through this mission again in the hopes that I can um, have everything sink in well enough for me to take the certification and pass it. Okay. My last attempt to pass, didn't work out. I missed too many questions. They had a base minimum and I missed like six questions, you know, more than that minimum. So I didn't do well. Um, you know, I was also upset the fact that they included some um, Pega 7 uh, keywords in that certification when I was trying to take a certification for 8.6. So, but at the same time, you know, when you're when you're studying for certification, you should know, um, you know, the older versions as well, because when you go out into the field, you might be working with people that have gotten their certificate, their 7.0 certifications or whatnot. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Okay. Sorry about the little bit of a tangent there. Let's go on and work on the data model. So we got data modeling, data records, data pages, and the visual data model, and integration designer, and of course the module quiz at the very end. So, okay, I'm seeing quite a bit of information here, so I'm probably not going to be getting through. Well, I'm probably going to get through this one today, but might not make it through the others. So, data modeling is the process by which data elements arrive into your application in a format that makes sense for your business and are then processed, reported on, and stored. The data model defines the types and structures of data in your application and standardizes how data elements relate to one another. Data models are also critical tools for communication between business stakeholders who define requirements for the data needed and created by business processes, and the system architects who act upon the requirements to build the application. For example, your data model might represent the data used by your application to retrieve data about textbooks. The application passes the textbook's ISBN ISBNs to a service that returns a list of titles and editions and then formats the results so sales representatives can both process orders using titles and easily switch between editions. Um, so the application passes the textbook ISBNs to a service that returns a list of titles and editions and then formats the results so sales represent. Okay, so here's the thing. ISBNs are typically, a number given to a single textbook. So, you know, they're stating, ISBNs, so, multiple ISBNs that returns a list of titles and editions. Okay, that works. But bear in mind, one ISBN is only, one title, one edition. So, so, one ISBN doesn't return a list of titles and editions because that doesn't work. But obviously, if you're passing in multiple, then of course you'll get back multiple. So, um, if you import data for your textbook's data type on a regular basis, you can define a default mapping between the ISBN field in a CSV file and the ISBN field in your data type. You need the following components to a data model: fields, properties that store and format data in your application; data objects, categories of data that have fields, field mappings, and connections to data sources. In the following image, click on the plus icons to learn about each component of the data model. So, data objects in the selected case type. A list of data objects contained by the selected case type appears on the left pane. In this example, the data object order is selected from the system's request case type. You can click data relationships, such as customer ID data reference, to open them. Data relationships are displayed as blue linked text. So they're basically saying, billing address, customer, order items, payment info, and shipping address. So our data references are being passed in, via a database. So the visual data model illustrates the data components that are contained in a selection and shows their relationships with other data objects. In this example, the data subject order is selected from the assistant's request case type. Related data objects. Clicking on any related data object populates a list in the left pane to show what fields are contained in the data object. Okay, so order was selected, so you see everything associated with said order. So next, every component in the selected case type has an icon that indicates the type of relationship that the component has with other data objects. A circle with one line indicates a one-to-one relationship. A circle with multiple lines indicates a one-to-many relationship. So this one right here, this order items, has a one-to-many, and the rest of them have a one-to-one. Now, what's interesting is that, while order items is shown here as a one-to-many, you're only seeing one one line going to order item there, and that's it. So one could could make the assumption that there is a possibility of multiple lines coming out from there, but now you're not showing it here, so it is what it is. Or, the fact that order item itself has multiple items contained within it, so that's why it's a one to many. So uh, you can view the data model for your entire application in the navigation pane of the App Studio by clicking Data, Data Model, and View. You can then also view the data model for a specific case type from the case lifecycle by clicking Data Model and View Data Model. Unfortunately, they don't show that at all. They don't have images for it, so maybe we can kind of go over that in the next challenge. I'll have to maybe put a pin in that for now, but okay. Data storage. Supplemental case processing data often exists outside of data objects, such as user preferences entered during the case processing that influence the case lifecycle. The system needs to know a location in which to store that data. It is best practice it is best practice to create a data class with the same name as the case type to store data that is not found in existing data objects instead of storing it on a work object, such as a case. So, they're basically trying to say, hey, keep, keep the names, you know, at least similar or the same to reduce down the amount of confusion. So, for example, if you were to say, you know, the field is customer name, but in the data you say something like, um, um, what's something, uh, something totally unrelated, like business address or some crazy thing, right? If you do something like that, people are going to be like, wait, this makes no sense. You have no connection between the two. What are you talking about? Or if you say something like, um, suffix or or um, um, or first or something like that, whatever, you know, they're going to be like, where's the connection? You know, you might deal with a little bit of confusion there. So that's why Pega, you know, uh, one of the positives that I can say about Pega is the fact that they're really trying to work on that naming convention. Like, hey, you need to make sure that the names that you're creating are distinctive, so that um, seeing that you have um, people in business that are going to be, looking at the application, you need to make it easy for them to understand what these, um, what the data objects are all about and the like. So, for example, a user in the library reservation case type has their patron information stored in the patron data object, which uses their name, email address, phone number, and library card number. During case processing, they are presented with a choice to enable audio assistance for a reservation process. The application developer stores a single value data from this Boolean selection in the data object with the same name as the case type, in this case, library reservation. Consider as an analogy a train that hauls containers as a work object. The containers represent supplemental case processing data that does not belong to a data object. You want to move that data around and share it, but cannot effectively if it is saved inside a work object. Not really the best of analogies so far. To maximize reuse and portability, save data that does not exist in the data object in the data class with the same name as the case type with which it is associated, such as library reservation in the previous example. I mean, I don't know if that's a really good analogy. Um, so train a train that hauls containers as the work object. Okay, this is the work object. Okay. Containers represent supplemental case processing data that does not belong to a data object. Okay. Um, so but yet, okay, the containers represent supplemental case processing data that does not belong to a data object, but yet you're showing data object here as the container. Okay. You want to move that data around and share it, but cannot effectively if it is saved inside the work object. Okay, but you have a train that um, you have the train as a work object and it's supposed to be moving around, so to maximize reuse and portability, save data that does not exist in the data object in the data class with the same name as the case type with which it is associated. Okay, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm feeling like this entire paragraph feels very, I don't know. It feels very confusing to me. I mean, if someone can try to explain this one, I'd appreciate it because it, like this statement here does not match with their image here. You know, this like the containers represent supplemental case processing data that does not belong to a data object. Then why are you calling it a data object? I don't know. Maybe these plus icons will shed some light here. The work class includes all classes that define work items in your application. This class contains the rules that describe how to process a case or cases, such as processes, data elements, and user interfaces. Data that does not belong to any data object should not be stored here. Store the data in a separate data class. Okay. Um, so So it's basically, it's basically saying data that does not belong to any data object should not be stored here. So, um, so data that a work class has needs to be stored in a data object then, according to this. Um, Data that exists outside of data objects should be easy to share. Data that exists outside of data objects should be easy to share and portable across your application. Wait, what? Save this type of data in a created data class with the same name as the case type in which it is used. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't you know, if you have data contained within data objects, shouldn't that be easy to share? Oh boy. Oh, I'm struggling with this one. Data modeling. I'll move on for right now. I might need to talk with a friend of mine about this one because this is already um I'm already having some difficulty with this. Maybe they can try to explain it a little bit better than what they're doing here because I'm feeling like they're making statements that are kind of counter to, not only their image, but it maybe I'm just not understanding it very much because one would think that, if you have something contained within a data object, you can pass that data object around, you can share it, around, fairly easily because it's contained within an object. You can move that object around, pass it around, get the data off of it, put data inside of it, pass it again, that kind of thing. Um, so the fact that they're saying, data that exists outside of data objects is easy to share. It's like, wait, really? Are you sure about that? Because I don't think that's true. You know, um, that sounds to me like the exact opposite. Because if you have if you have data like, hey, I have data that is just the address, for example, and I have data that's the phone number, but they're not contained within a data object, then I would have to pass both of them to everywhere that needs them. And that would require a little bit more work to try to pass both of them separately. Whereas if I put them inside a data object, a container, to pass that around, then I can just pass that container. And both values would be within that object. So I can retrieve it, I can use it, you know, I can change it if necessary. So I don't know. This entire section feels um very questionable to me right at this moment in time. So um I like I said, if anybody can explain that a little bit more for me, then that would be great. Um, maybe I don't know. I don't understand their the wording here because I'm feeling like they're um either I'm I'm completely off base by my understanding of data objects, um, or their sentences um, are worded incorrectly. So like, my views are correct and they're really screwing the pooch on this one. I don't know. Like I said, I would like someone to try to explain that a little bit better than what I'm seeing there. So, okay. But we're gonna move on. Like I said, I'll talk to my friend, you know, see what they have to say about that particular section because that's, yeah, I don't know, it feels off. Data modeling best practices. A developer should verify the data model with a lead system architect before creating data objects or properties. Makes sense. Establishing the data model before creating or working with data saves future development time and minimizes the volume of errors that might impact application performance. Again, that makes sense. You want to make sure that you have a lead system architect that is working on the overall build of your application. They are kind of um, they are mapping out what everything does, how it needs to be worked on, so on and so forth. Because if you don't have that, then um, then your overall structure could be very chaotic. Like, this one right here is very structured, right? But I mean, if you had something that is um, very chaotic, you could be like, hey, instead of you could have order pointing to payment info, to order items, to billing address, to shipping address, to customer, kind of thing. You could have like multiple coming out from this particular order to different structures, and it's like that's, and then you could have like pointers going to like every other, you know, um, point of reference, and so on and so forth. It could be pure chaos, you know, if you don't have a good structure. So, um, addition of data through a UI view. While you can create portions of your data model while creating a view, developers can miss the larger picture of how data may interact and be reused across different components of the application. It is, it is best practice to create the data model by using the Data Explorer first, keeping reuse and inheritance in mind. You can use the Configure a View screen to add new fields as needed throughout the application's update lifecycle. For example, the data model in your application includes a reusable data object named Customer that aggregates customer information such as first name, last name, and address. For a patch release, specifications require that the application gathers the customer's account number. You may choose to add this field in the Configure a View screen. In the center of the following image, slide the vertical line to show the difference between adding a field through the Configuration a View screen and on the Data Model screen. So, um, so through the Data Model screen, when you're trying to add the field name, you know, um, the you're trying to add the account number as an integer in with all the other field names there, what they what their type is, what their ID is all about, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's what the data model is all about there. If you switch on over to the configure a view screen, you'll notice the fact that same similar structure in a sense. You have the full name there, you have the email address, you know, and you have the type and you have options and like, and same thing here. You have the field name and you have the type. So you can basically add it here in the configure a view screen. You can add multiple into the screen so that it can be, used, you know, in the view. So I do like how they have, the two different ways of adding, you know, uh, adding the field. So, okay, check your knowledge with the following interaction. So, which two statements describe best practices in data modeling with Pega platform? Choose two. Which two statements? I mean, choose two. Yeah, okay, we get it. um, to maximize reuse and portability, store data that is not found in data objects in the work object. Okay. I mean, I believe they stated that, so yes. Create the data model in a single view to minimize time switching between different development spaces. I don't know if you need to do that. Hmm. Um, Determine the format of data that makes sense for your business through creating the data model. I mean, isn't creating the data model the determination? I'm not so sure about that one. Use the configure a view screen to add new fields as needed. I mean, that's true. Um, Not sure if this is like the best practices, but I mean, it's true. So, avoid storing data that is not found in the data objects of the work object in the work object itself. As a best practice, save the data objects to a separate data class that shares a name of the case type. Um, okay, they did state that. Um, let's see. Um, Data does not belong to a data object should not be stored here. And I messed up on that one. Okay, so that was me being stupid on that one. Okay, no worries on that one. But if apparently configuring the view screen was the correct choice on that. Um, so that's correct. That is not. Uh, I don't think this is correct. Um, I think you can have like multiple views if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. The data model defines not only the types of information in your application, but also the relationships of information. It is crucial that the data that comes into your application is in a format that makes sense for your business. So, but I mean, you can still kind of create your data model. I mean, you're determining the format of data within the data model anyway. So, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I guess. I mean, yeah, they're okay. They're right in the fact that, determine the types of information that you're bringing in. Okay, for example, they have here account number is integer. Okay, verify that you need a field type of account number and it needs to be an integer. Okay, maybe your business, you know, um, you know, um, maybe your business has a floating or double, for account number. Basically, a number with a decimal point, you know, um, for their account number for some reason. Maybe the account number um, has letters in the account number, so it can't be an integer. Because an integer is just numbers and that's it. You can't have any kind of letters within an integer. So, you know, maybe your account number has to be a string, which, you know, includes both numbers and characters. So, um, so you have to determine that, you know, um, early, or you have to kind of confirm that with people in business to make sure that everything lines up. Now, the thing is that you know, can't you be doing that while making the data model at the same time, though? You know, um, can't you be making, you know, the the field name, the field names and the types within the data model, and then create the relationships after that? I mean, is that not possible for the data model? Can you not do that with the business? I mean, they're kind of showing that here, so one would make the assumption that it's not just, you can't do, you can do the data modeling with App Studio. Otherwise, why would a business analyst have this information given to them, right? So, um, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'm not sure. It feels like um, it feels like this um, you can kind of do both at the same time. So I don't know. I'm feeling like this is a bit unnecessary or something like that. Hmm. Let me refresh the page. Let me go back through and see, about the other answer that was there. So we have configuring the view. This one is the wrong answer. Um, we already know that this one's an answer, and correct answer. And obviously they're saying that this one is the wrong answer. Let's see what they say about it being the wrong answer. So creating an entire data model in a single view to minimize time switching between different development spaces. So this method often leads developers to miss the larger picture of how data can interact and be reused across different components of the application. It is a best practice to create the data model by using the Data Explorer first to keep reuse and inheritance in mind. So, um, hmm. So I'm, I'm trying to process this a little bit here. Um, so, you know, I understand the idea of um, trying to. Okay, so one of the concepts of programming, okay, is um, modular or basically code reuse. Okay, trying to keep um, if there's a way for you to take a chunk of code and streamline it so much that you can take it and reuse it in other applications, you know, then you know that's fantastic because you're saving time in the in development in that. Okay, that's what Pega is trying to do in this is that they're trying to save time by keeping things very um, simple in a way so that when you say, hey, I want to add a button here, it has and it has modules that handle you know how it looks, how it acts, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's what that's what this work class is basically describing, right? Um, so um, now when you when you look at the data model up here, okay, you're seeing a lot of um, you're seeing a lot of uh, values, a lot of fields, and you're seeing a lot of data references that are linked to other um, objects that have additional fields to them. Okay, so when it's pointing to customer here with a data reference, it's basically pointing to another object that contains all the information concerning a customer. Okay, um, so if I mean you could have um, you could try to put all the information of the customer into an order, but it's not very streamlined because now you can't really reuse customer elsewhere. Okay. So like, here you have an order, with a customer, right? But if it's all contained within order, their name, billing address, and so on and so forth, and you don't have it anywhere else, then, say, um, um, say the customer calls in or something like that, they're gonna have to like maybe try to go into order to find that customer. Okay, they wouldn't necessarily have their own like application to find the customer because the customer's object isn't easily viewable. If you get what I'm saying there. So that's why sometimes you need to have these um, isolated um, in their own objects. Um, so just kind of bear that in mind, you know, um, for that. Now, um, create an entire data model in a single view to minimize time switching between different development spaces. I mean, hmm, I guess I'm having a hard time trying to figure out, what their definition of views and how that relates to the data model overall. Um, so yeah, I'm having a little bit of difficulty there. Hey there, Gunsmoke, how you doing there? May have slept through your stream. No worries there, bud. No worries. I mean, if you're tired, you're tired. Don't worry about it. You know, um, keep 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 on going with that. Good rest. So, don't stay up for my account. I'd rather you be, having a good night's sleep and well rested for the next day um, than being super tired. So, um, I don't know. I guess I'm really kind of struggling with this particular topic right at the moment, and I might need to talk with my friend about this one and see what they say about it because yeah, I'm looking at some of these statements and I'm like, wait, didn't are you saying the exact opposite here? So, um, I may need to review this in the future because obviously I'm not getting it very well, or at least I'm having a hard time trying to really grasp what they're trying to say in this. Now, it could be, just my understanding. Maybe I'm, reading a word incorrectly. Maybe my brain is kind of processing it differently than their intention. Um, Maybe their wording is not the best. That could be possible as well. Um, if anybody else is having troubles with this particular section, then let me know because I mean if other people are having a similar time, a similar struggle with this particular topic, then it falls on Pega to try to reevaluate their topic and try to reword it to a point where it's a little bit easier for those of us that are trying to study it. Okay. If it if everybody's getting it, if everybody's understanding this particular topic and it's just me, then obviously, there's then um something something isn't clicking for me with this particular topic. And therefore um I'm going to need to figure out, what's wrong there. Why is it not, what isn't clicking very well with this particular topic to really understand fully what's going on here. So, um, but I'll have to deal with that at a later time. We're we're pretty much out of time at this point. We're gonna move on to the next topics tomorrow. Data records. Um, yes, thank you, Ellen. So we'll have to deal with this tomorrow. So, pardon me, I need to blow my nose real quick. Be right back. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so we're gonna cover data records um, tomorrow. I may come back to data modeling. Um, I may go back over it. Like I said, I'll see about trying to get in touch with my friend and talk with them about data modeling a little bit more. Find out why it wasn't clicking for me, or if it's just worded badly. I don't really know. Um, Again, I'll state this again. If someone in chat knows, you know, maybe, you know, maybe they can shed some light on it, or, because I'm uploading this to YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, you know, state in the comments, what, maybe, I don't know. I don't know where the disconnect is. If they can shed some light on that disconnect in some way, then, or maybe they can explain it differently. I don't know. Um, I'm coming at this with a point of like, um, I feel like I know, a lot from Java and previous experiences, but yet I look at the information that they presented and it feels like it's not exactly accurate either. So, I don't know. Like I said, I'm I'm struggling with that particular topic right now. So I'll see from them, if they have some, if they can shed some light on the subject, and if they have if they can kind of enlighten me on what I'm missing, then tomorrow, you know, if, like I said, uh, if I understand what they're trying to say, then, I'll try to convey the information a little bit better to everybody tomorrow. Um, I'll try to revisit and see about trying to fix, you know, um, hopefully I didn't cause any additional confusion. I don't want to do that, but I mean, I'm confused. So, I got hit with some confusion there, so I gotta deal with that, as well. So, kind of nose keeps on running. All right. So, um, these videos are going to be uploaded to my YouTube channel, so feel free to check that out. Go link down below. For anybody that is interested, I got playlists specific to the Pega journey here, Pega setting. So, um, feel free to look at that playlist. You know, um, I'm keeping it up to date. So, um, if you're watching this on YouTube, you know, like, you know, if you do the normal YouTube thing, like, subscribe, you know, bell notification, um, that would help out. But, obviously, you know, you don't need to if you don't want to, obviously. The choice is yours, as always. So, all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.